Alright, so we've got our first propeller roughly shaped and sanded. And you see we have the propeller hub is made of wood dowel. It's probably alder wood dowel, so it's a hardwood. And since we don't have to sand it or shape it in any way, shape, or form, it's fine. We just use the cylinder itself, and then we add contours to it using masking tape. So you see the contours to the prop hub here done with masking tape, the two collars, the prop collars that retain the blade into the hub, and then the center section, which is just built out with tape. And again, this whole thing will be coated with our sealer, which will round it up and make it look more like milled aluminum. And then for the collars, I'll just do a final wrap of tape over these primary ones. That'll make it look like a separate collar. And then the blades are shaped. As you can see, here are the blanks for the next blade. Again, I'm doing two blades, one for this motor and one for this motor, so that I can swap them out. So we hollow out the backs of the blades using a large dowel, about 3/4 dowel, wrapped in coarse sandpaper, and then that's just the backs of the blades are hollowed out. The tips are tapered right out toward the tip. It's sanded sort of down. The faces of the blades are radiused. I don't know if you can see that. And then when we apply them to the hub, we give a bit of an incidence to the blade. So they're rotated off of 90 degrees so as to cut the air. On takeoff, you go to maximum pitch. Now, I think these props were fixed pitch. In other words, they weren't adjustable pitch blades, they were fixed. They might have been ground adjustable later on. But for all intents and purposes, what I'm representing here is a ground pitch adjustable blade, where that incidence would be set in the hanger. The collar's tightened down, and then the blade, the prop attached to the airplane with that pitch fixed. No matter what your throttle setting is, the blade pitch would never change. So you'd have to keep an eye on RPM. Oh, there's a whole pilot thing that goes along with all that. Anyway, this is how the blade more or less should look, I think. Again, these are more like the scimitar blade, the sword-shaped blades that were kind of prevalent in that era. I'll use a ton of filler on this. So on the blades themselves, you can see I've added a doubler here at the base, right down here, and that's to give us a full round feature for the mating surface, so that when I attach the blade to the dowel, both surfaces are round, and that's all that little doubler is there for. Otherwise, it would just be a half circle that was attached to the prop hub, and that would not be a sufficient mating surface to hold up over time. So I just broaden it out with the little piece of balsa on the backside, and then sand that to the roundness shape of the base of the prop. And I'll take filler when I'm filling these to fill in the grain. I'll also put some filler here so I can fair this up into the back of the blade. We'll also fair a little bit of it all the way around the circumference of the blade at the bottom here. So some filler will be used to kind of make that a little bit broader at the base there of the blade to prop hub connection. But mostly the filler is just going to be used to take care of all the wood grain. And once that's done, and these are polished and sanded and then sealed with the deluxe sand and sealer, a couple of coats of that, sanded off down to a 400 grit, and then I can primer the props and paint them aluminum silver, the natural aluminum or gloss aluminum that I like to use. And we'll have some hopefully decent looking propellers rather, on our Lockheed. And again, there'll be one for each of the two configurations, the no cowling and the cowled version. Each have its own prop. And then the way we attach these again is I just create a prop hub. What I'll use is a short 1/8 inch long section of brass tubing. Slip that on over this, snug but not tight, and then over that brass goes again about another 1/8 inch section of plastic tubing over that. And the plastic tubing is of a diameter that would replicate the nut that holds the prop in place on the prop shaft. And then we might, cap that with something else. But I think that's about all it would need. Those two pieces slipped one over the other and cemented in place so that the prop is spinning on the shaft, which is fixed. Prop shaft fixed, prop nut fixed, but propeller loose, no glue. And that'll allow it to spin freely. So that's the method I use for attaching propellers. Right, we just insert the prop shaft. In this case, we come through the nose cone, affix a small piece of balsa onto the back, drill a hole right through it, and then cement our prop shaft, whatever diameter piano wire you want to use, and just cement that in there. You don't have to create some fancy gimmick for a spinning prop. It's pretty easy just to fix the axle, the pin, slide the prop on, and then secure the prop nut and make that the piece that holds everything together on the front end. That's where you can get at it. If you need to, you could clip it off, replace the propeller. Again, you'd have to obviously be a little careful doing that or what have you. But at some point, I got tired of trying to figure out different ways to do this, and it kept getting more and more complicated until I just went this way, and this seems like the easiest way to attach a propeller to an airplane model and have it spin. Right? Anyway, your mileage may vary. The cowling has been coated with the sand and seal. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get new brushes, and so I used a brush that apparently had some, I don't know what, on it. But when this is primered, it won't matter. That just kind of explains the kind of dingy or dirty look of the cowling at this point. Yes, the desktop is a mess. It always is. This is how I work. But well, hopefully the result will be all right. All right, so that's propellers. I did a video on exactly how I do the actual process of this, of making propellers. I did it for the Stearman project, the C3B YPT-9, whichever way you want to call it. The kit was a C3B. I modified it to make a Cloudboy YPT-9. If you look at that video or go through that string of videos, you'll find the one on making propellers. I think there's probably 8 videos altogether where I demonstrate how to do it. It's easy. It's not difficult. You just have to do it a few times. The key part is to make your blanks, make sure that they're straight and flat balsa that you're using. Draw up a template, trace it onto your blank, and then cut the profile that you want, like I've marked out here. I don't know if you can see where the black lines are. And you just cut those parts away. Sand the thing to profile, and then begin to sand them to shape as I described, using a length of wood dowel wrapped with heavy grit sandpaper for the backside, and then a small sanding block. This is the sanding block, by the way, that I use pretty much for the entire build. It's just a little piece of balsa wood that I've scrapped. I don't even know what thickness that is, 3/8 maybe, 1/4 inch. It's probably 1/4 inch. And I just use this for literally everything. This does the whole airplane. So when I talk about using a block and sanding the fuselage and the wings and all that, this is the block I'm using. This is what I'm talking about. And the only other block I use is wood dowel in various diameters. So I have this one, which I use most frequently, and I have this one, which I use for a tighter inside. And I also use these again to shape the balsa pieces that I do the infill with. In other words, these aren't just flat pieces of sheet balsa. I've rounded those by wetting them and wrapping them, as I've shown in other videos. So that's what all these dowels are used for. And these are the three sizes, diameters I typically use. I want to say this is 1/2 inch, and I don't know what this is, 5/8 probably, and then this one is 3/4. It might even be 1 inch. Where's my ruler? Yeah, so this is actually 1 inch. All right, and that's it. That's what I use. No more, no less. And anyway, this is our project to date. This is where we are today as far as the build goes. I'm still waiting for that frickin' delivery to come. For whatever reason, it's 2-3 days late now, but that's good. It's giving me time to do all this other essential stuff that I would have then had to do after all of the painting was done, and I don't want to wait until then. So this is actually a good thing. This is forcing me to work on the details now. The windscreen I'll be fabricating, and I'll show you again how I do that. There is a video on how I do those on the Stearman project. This style of windscreen for the open cockpit. This is another version of that, a slightly different windscreen, but the same idea. So I'll be working on that on camera, and I'll show those steps. It's pretty basic. The key thing is to make a good template. If you get the template right and it fits, then your acetate piece, your windscreen, will fit, and that's really, it's as basic as that. I'll be using this piece of scrap material for the windscreen. This is just part of some plastic packaging. I try to use stuff like this as much as I can. I hate to throw that stuff away because it ends up in the ocean. And so I try to use what I can. Granted, this isn't very much of it, but I'll keep that around and use it on future projects till it's gone. What else? I don't know. I guess that's it. Here we are, waiting for a primer to come and working on details until that. And I've got two other videos in the camera here, so I'll try and get that stuff uploaded today or tomorrow. That would be before the weekend. Today's Thursday, tomorrow Friday, so I'll try to get that up before the weekend. I know everybody's hanging on those videos. I've got as many as maybe 12 views on 1 or 2 of them. Boy, yeah, but it's fun. I don't care. I don't care how many people. I appreciate everyone who is watching. Believe that, please. I really appreciate that, and the comments that I'm getting, and the subscriptions especially. People are following this. So, and it's fun for me, and I hope it's helpful for the people watching. If you're building these things at home or working on different projects, no matter what the project is. If you're building IKEA furniture, having processes and taking time and measuring and cutting stuff where you need to, and knowing how to just put things together. It's fun to watch videos like this. I watch them all the time. I wanted to say, probably in that vein, Max's models. I've been watching those. The history of the different plastic kit manufacturers. It's been really interesting, really well done. Gosh, there's just so many. HPI guy, I watch those. Scale modeling, brilliant plastic kit model makers. So, but anyway, I'll probably put some links to those in the descriptions of some of these videos. The main videos that I look at, I'll put links to them or put their. What am I trying to say? Never mind. I'll talk to you guys later.